Hi, so this video is going to be about KDE. Uh, I've been using KDE ever since I've been using Linux. I started in about 2004. I'm pretty sure that's when I first installed Linux on my Windows XP machine, and I've been using KDE ever since. I've tried other distributions and I keep coming back to KDE. The main thing I like about it is its graphical interface, user interface, that makes it easy for you to find your way around in Linux. Other distributions like GNOME is the big main other one. The one that's probably more popular in America is GNOME, and it looks fine. There's nothing wrong with GNOME. It looks good. The problem is it doesn't have all the little buttons that you can click, and you can say, well, what's this button do, or usually the button tells you what it does, and it makes it easy to find your way around Linux. Whereas with GNOME, you have to kind of know what things are. You have to know where things are, and a lot of times you have to write, if you use the command line, which is what the best way to control Linux is by using the command line. You have to know what the command, you have to understand the language of bash is the default language. I usually switch mine to Z shell, and because that's just kind of, it does everything bash does and a couple other things. But I like, so KDE allows you to use Linux with zero experience. I mean, it looks a lot like Windows. KDE looks a lot like Windows, and so it's really easy to learn. And so I learn it, and anyone can learn it and use it. And it's just like using any other Windows computer. It's easy, and there's graphical applications that you can use to do just about everything, and you can control every detail. The difference between Linux and Windows is, with Windows, Microsoft is the artist. With Linux, you're the artist, and you get to control every detail, the colors. I mean, you just can control just about everything. There's a button or a link or something, that kind of obviously does something to control what something does or looks like or whatever. And so I like using that. I may switch to the what is it? It's System 76. They come out with computers, and they used to use GNOME, but they're coming out with their own operating system that's very similar to GNOME. It's based on GNOME, which I don't have anything against GNOME, I guess. I just only, like I said, the reason I like KDE is because it's easy for beginners to start using. You can use Linux without knowing anything about computers, especially with KDE. With GNOME, you have to be able to know what you're doing a little bit more to know, because the command, there's not a button there to just say click this button and it's going to do a certain thing. It's you have to know where to go and make it do things. And so that's the main reason I like KDE. And GNOME is okay, especially since I really like System 76, and I want, because they make hardware. It's an American company that makes hardware with Linux installed by default, and I like that. And even though I really like some of the KDE, the KDEPlasma has a really nice looking laptop, and KDE Neon, which is the KDE operating system, comes out. They have their slim book laptops, and and I thought that might be a good one to go with. The only thing is, it's really hard to get those in America. They're available in Western Europe, and not so much in the United States. I'm sure you could probably get one, but it's kind of a long haul to get a laptop from Spain to Seattle, or wherever it is they make them. I think they make the KDE slim books in Spain, but I'm not positive about that. And but they're good looking computers, and they come with Linux installed by default, and I like that. And but the System 76 has a whole line of computers, including some really super powerful looking desktop computers that would rival just about any computer you can get. And that's one of the advantages why I would like to get one. They're kind of expensive. They're not. They're top of the line. They're not cheap computers. But I would definitely like to get one of those and start learning how to. My big goal is, and what I've been trying to do for years now, is set up a local development environment, and that involves, I got, Z Shell and Vim set up on my computer, and I've set it up many times, and I've got it all set up, and I've never known what to do with it. And I know some of the things I need to do is getting all these different libraries installed on my computer, and then start building, Linux. My goal is to start building Python, and using Python to build a Flask, a website using Flask. I could just try building something I've never done in the whole time I've been using Linux, is building a website from scratch without because the first ones I built was Drupal, and then WordPress. I built some WordPress. Well, actually, my first website was at Google. I built a Google website and a Google blog. Those were my first two websites. And then I started building Drupal websites, or I built a SBI, Site Build It website, and then I started building Drupal websites, and then I built. I liked the SBI. I especially liked the guy's teachings, but he told me, that I had to keep something secret, and I kind of said, what, that I don't want to do that. This information, computer software is, people have a right to private property. Private property is a good idea. I'm not against private property, and I'm definitely not against computer scientists getting paid for their work. But all this control, and, it's just like Adobe, taking over my Windows machine. It's like it's corruption. It's corrupt. That's corruption. I don't mind using that stuff, and they got good stuff, but when they hold hostage like that, it's like that's exactly why I started using Linux in the first place, because I read the Windows 95 user agreement from start to finish. And when I finished, my answer was no. Of course, I don't agree that Microsoft owns the software on my computer. It's my computer. I can do whatever I want to with. If I want to give it away, I can give it away. If I want to, copy it, I can copy it. It's mine. And so I don't much like the GPL isn't much better, because it says nobody owns it, the software on my computer, which is better than Microsoft owning it. But what I want is, I like private ownership of the means of production. I want to own my own means of production. I want to own the software on my computer. I want to be able to do whatever I want to. That's free enterprise. And so I use Linux. It's the best. I could move over to BSD, which I like their license. They have the license that is says you can do whatever you want to with it, but the software isn't anywhere near as well developed as Linux is. And I run up against some boundaries with Linux too, but Linux is pretty powerful, and it'll do just about anything. It's especially if you learn, you start with KDE, and you learn start with KUbuntu or KDE Manjaro works pretty easy too. It's very beautiful and easy to use, and you use that for a while, a couple of years or whatever, however long you want to, maybe forever. But you use that to start with, and you learn how to use Linux. And while you're doing that, then you start learning how to use Z Shell and Vim or whatever text editor you want to use. And you learn how to develop that local development environment where you can actually edit programs. Because I don't really know how to. I'm not a computer programmer. I'm getting close there, but I'm not there yet where I can code, write code. I can write little bits of code. I've edited. I edited the CSS on my website because the little drop-down lists, the subheadings all came down on the right side. The third layer, there's the top layer is the headline there, and then there's a drop down that's got some lists, and then to the right, as you put the cursor on one of them, and the little drop down list would open up on the right side of that. While the one on the far right would always end up off the side of the web page. So I edited the CSS to make that come down on the left side of the menus. And so I can do little minor editing like that, but as far as like writing programs, I'm not there yet. So, but that's kind of what I'm trying to work on and get to is, my plan is I would like to use KDE Neon because it's the KDE operating system, and set it up so I can build websites, and I could build applications that run on the computer, like Python applications or QML applications. QML is a software. It's what KDE is written in QML and with the Qt toolkit, and learn that system and learn how to write programs and make like a calendar, with the 19-day months and 19-day months, and the Baha'i calendar and one of those, and make that. That was kind of one of the applications I wanted to build with QML, Qt. Or Python. I could do that with Python too. But so anyway, once I get back on my feet here, and kind of figure out what I'm going to do next, I may get because my Linux laptop has got a broken hinge. One of the hinges is broken on the computer, the hardware, and so I'm going to probably be getting a new computer for that. I'm either going to install a computer on this desktop and put in another hard drive in there with Linux on it, or just get a new laptop with Linux on it. And I'm thinking about getting the the System 76 laptop with Linux installed on it in default Linux. Anyway, so I definitely recommend, if you're new to Linux and you want to try it out, I definitely recommend that you start with KUbuntu. It's the best. It's beautiful. It works right out of the box. You install it on your computer and it works. It's just like Windows. It's basically Windows, on Linux, and except that you have total control over what it looks like. And then you can go from there, and you can learn more of the programming side of it later, So on my 15 minutes is coming up. I think I'll go ahead and stop here, even though I think this video didn't go too well, but we'll see. I'll listen to it and see if I like it. Have a great day, and peace be with you.